Richard Wilson is 68 years old, lives in Atlanta, married for 42 years. His son got married 3 years ago. Beautiful wedding. Everyone smiled. Everyone celebrated. Today, Richard sits in my office, divorce papers in his hand. Not his divorce, his son's divorce. He looks at me and says, "I destroyed my son's marriage." I'm Wisecast. I've spent 30 years counseling couples through divorce. I've seen it all. Cheating, money problems, in-laws who won't stay out. But Richard's case broke my heart. He thought he was helping. He thought he was being generous. He thought he was showing love. Instead, he watched his son's marriage crumble. 3 years, that's all it lasted. And he knows it was his fault. This happens more than you think. Parents who love their children, parents who want the best, parents who can't step back. A recent survey showed something shocking. 43% of divorces under age 30 involve parental interference. 43%.
Your child's marriage doesn't need your management. It needs your respect. So today I'm sharing 3 deadly mistakes parents make when their children get married. These come from real cases, real families, real heartbreak I've witnessed in my practice. Please hit that like button and subscribe if this helps you understand how to protect your family relationships. Your support means everything. If you love your children, you'll listen to every word. Let's start. The first deadly mistake parents make is drowning their children in money. Richard thought he was being generous. His son needed a house. Richard bought it. Son needed a car. Richard bought it. Son's wife wanted to start a business. Richard funded it. Every problem became Richard's checkbook solution. 18 months later, his daughter-in-law told her friends, "We can't make any decisions without asking Richard for money." The son felt trapped. The wife felt controlled. The marriage felt fake. Here's what I learned from 40 years of marriage counseling. Money creates dependency. Dependency creates resentment. Resentment destroys marriages. I know what you're thinking, but I worked hard. I saved money. I want to help my children. I understand. Your intentions are pure. Your heart is in the right place. But listen to this hard truth. Children with real character never ask their parents for money unless it's truly desperate. They figure it out themselves. They work extra hours. They live smaller. They grow stronger. When you pour money on your children like water, you're not helping them. You're drowning them. Let me share what happens in real families. Patricia, 71, from Denver. She gave her daughter $50,000 for a wedding, then another $30,000 for furniture, then paid their mortgage for 8 months straight. Her daughter's husband started drinking. Why? He felt worthless. He couldn't provide for his own wife. Every month, his mother-in-law was paying his bills. He told me, "I stopped feeling like a man. I felt like Patricia's employee." The marriage ended in 2 years. But here's the part that broke Patricia's heart. After the divorce, her daughter said, "Mom, you ruined my marriage with your generosity." Patricia spent her retirement savings trying to help. Instead, she funded her daughter's divorce. Or consider Thomas, 64, from Seattle. His son married a teacher. Sweet girl, hard-working. But Thomas kept sending checks, 500 here, 1,000 there. For groceries, he said, for gas, just to help out. The teacher started feeling guilty. Every gift felt like debt. Every dinner out felt borrowed. She told her husband, "I feel like we're living your father's life, not ours." Every time they made love, she wondered if the bed was paid for by Thomas. Every time they cooked dinner, she wondered if the groceries came from Thomas's wallet. She couldn't feel like a wife. She felt like a charity case. 3 years later, divorce. Thomas never understood what went wrong. He kept saying, "But I was trying to help them."
Yes, he was, and his help destroyed their independence. Here's another case. Barbara, 68, from Portland. Her son was struggling to pay for his daughter's daycare. Barbara stepped in, paid for 2 years of daycare, $1,500 a month. Sounds generous, right? But Barbara had opinions about the daycare. She didn't like their discipline methods. She complained about their food. She started showing up unannounced to check on things. The daycare workers were confused. Who was the parent here? Barbara or her son?
Barbara's daughter-in-law finally exploded. Either you're paying and controlling, or we're paying and deciding. Pick one.
Barbara chose control. The marriage chose divorce. Here's what I tell every parent who comes to my office. Your adult children need to struggle financially. They need to figure out money together. They need to make hard choices as a team. When you remove that struggle, you remove their chance to build trust. You remove their chance to grow stronger. I see it every week. Couples who can't make a budget because dad always covers shortfalls. Couples who can't plan for the future because mom handles all emergencies. These aren't marriages. These are extended allowance programs. Smart children don't depend on their parents' money. They use it as emergency backup only. They build their own foundation first. If your child constantly asks for money, that's not a money problem. That's a character problem. And you can't fix character problems with checks.
Here's my advice. Set a yearly limit.
Maybe $5,000, maybe 10. Whatever you can afford to lose completely. Tell your children, this is our annual family emergency fund. Use it if your roof collapses or someone gets sick. Don't use it for vacations or cars or business ideas. Then stick to it. When they've used their limit, they're done until next year. This forces them to prioritize. This forces them to plan. This forces them to communicate. Most importantly, this forces them to solve problems together instead of running to mommy and daddy's bank account. Stop writing checks. Start building character. Let your children learn that marriage means two people solving problems together, not two people plus mom and dad's wallet. Your children's future happiness depends on their ability to handle money as a team. Give them that gift by stepping back from your checkbook.
The second deadly mistake is forgetting that both your child and their spouse are someone else's precious child.
Richard made this mistake too. He treated his son like gold. He treated his daughter-in-law like a stranger. When his son complained about his wife, Richard listened. When his daughter-in-law needed support, Richard was busy. Result? His son felt validated in his complaints. His daughter-in-law felt abandoned and alone. Marriage is not your child plus some random person. Marriage is two people who deserve equal respect from both families. I see this pattern everywhere. Parents who can't accept their child chose someone else as their number one person. Margaret, 69, from Phoenix. Her daughter married a carpenter. Good man, hard-working, steady job. But Margaret kept comparing him to her daughter's ex-boyfriend who was a lawyer. David was going places, she'd say. This one just hammers nails.
Her daughter heard this for 2 years.
Every family gathering became a subtle critique of her husband's career choices. Finally, she snapped. Mom, either respect my husband or don't come around. Margaret chose poorly. She kept criticizing. Her daughter cut contact. The marriage struggled under the stress of having no support from her family. Margaret realized too late that she'd lost both her daughter and a good son-in-law because she couldn't accept that love doesn't require a college degree. Or consider Frank, 66, from Chicago. His son married a nurse, beautiful girl, dedicated to her patients. But Frank never learned her name properly, called her the girl for 3 years. When they had problems, Frank told his son, "You can do better. There are plenty of fish in the sea." Frank's son listened. The marriage ended. Now Frank realizes he lost a wonderful daughter-in-law who would have taken care of him in his old age. She was the one who remembered his birthday. She was the one who called when he was sick. She was the one who bought thoughtful Christmas gifts. But Frank threw her away because she wasn't good enough for his precious son. Here's what I tell every parent. Your child didn't marry a stranger. They married someone they loved deeply. Someone they chose over everyone else in the world, including you. That person deserves your respect, not because they're perfect, but because your child loves them. When you undermine your child's spouse, you're undermining your child's judgment. You're saying, "You're too stupid to choose a good partner." How do you think that feels? Let me share another story. Helen, 73, from Minneapolis. Her son married a woman who'd been divorced before. Helen couldn't get past it. "She's damaged goods," Helen would whisper to her friends. "My son deserves better than someone's leftovers." Helen's daughter-in-law heard these comments. She tried harder and harder to prove herself worthy. She cooked elaborate meals. She sent thoughtful gifts. She included Helen in every decision. Nothing worked. Helen had decided this woman wasn't good enough, and no amount of effort could change her mind. The marriage lasted 5 years. But those 5 years were torture for the daughter-in-law, who never felt accepted or loved. When they divorced, Helen felt vindicated. "I knew she wasn't right for him," she said. But her son told her something that shocked her. "Mom, she was perfect for me, but she couldn't handle your constant disapproval. You didn't lose a bad daughter-in-law. You lost a good one." Helen's son remarried. This time, he didn't tell his mother until after the wedding. Both families need to show respect. Both families need to step back. Both families need to let the couple figure out their own rhythm. I've seen beautiful marriages destroyed by parents who played favorites. Don't be those parents. Here's the truth. Your child's spouse becomes your family when they say, "I do," not when you decide they're worthy. Love your child by loving their choice. When you show respect to your child's spouse, you're showing respect to your child's ability to choose wisely. When you criticize their spouse, you're criticizing their judgment, their taste, and their heart. Which message do you want to send? The third and most deadly mistake is trying to manage their marriage instead of letting them live it. This is where Richard completely lost his way. When his son and daughter-in-law fought about household chores, Richard jumped in. He hired them a cleaning lady, without asking. When they disagreed about money, Richard offered to pay their bills. Problem solved, right? Wrong. Richard removed every chance for his son and daughter-in-law to work through problems together. Every argument became a phone call to Dad. Every challenge became Dad's responsibility. The couple never learned to negotiate. They never learned to compromise. They never learned to trust each other. Because Dad was always there to fix everything. After 3 years, they didn't have a marriage. They had a 3-person management committee with Richard as chairman. His daughter-in-law finally exploded. "I didn't marry your son. I married your whole family. I can't breathe." Here's what every parent needs to understand. Your children will complain about their spouse to you. This is normal. This is human nature. But your job is not to solve their problems. Your job is to listen and send them back to work it out together. When your daughter calls crying because her husband forgot her birthday, don't say, "He's inconsiderate. You deserve better." Say, "That sounds frustrating. Have you talked to him about how important birthdays are to you?" When your son complains his wife spends too much money, don't say, "I'll talk to her." Say, "Marriage means learning to handle money together. You two need to figure out a system that works." Even babysitting their children requires careful boundaries. A friend of mine, Janet, 63, thought she was being helpful. She watched her grandchildren every day while her daughter worked. Sounds wonderful, right? 6 months later, her daughter was exhausted and resentful. Why? Because Janet had opinions about everything. Bedtimes, food choices, discipline methods. Her daughter felt like a part-time parent in her own home. Janet meant well, but constant involvement became constant interference. Janet would say things like, "In my day, children didn't eat dinner until they finished their vegetables." Or, "You're being too soft. That child needs a firm hand." Or, "I don't think you should watch so much television." Every day, Janet undermined her daughter's parenting decisions. Every day, her daughter felt judged and criticized. The breaking point came when Janet changed her grandson's diaper with a different brand. "These diapers are better," she announced. Her daughter exploded. "It's not about diapers, Mom. It's about respect. This is my child. These are my decisions." Janet was hurt. She thought she was helping. She thought she knew better. But she was wrong. Her help had become control. Her love had become interference. The solution? Janet now babysits 2 days a week, on her daughter's terms, using her daughter's methods, following her daughter's rules. The result? Everyone is happier. Janet gets quality time with her grandchildren. Her daughter gets support without criticism. Occasional help is beautiful. Daily management is destructive. Here's another case. Robert, 70, from Miami. His daughter-in-law was struggling with breastfeeding. Robert's wife, Sandra, had strong opinions. "Formula is perfectly fine," Sandra kept saying. "I raised 5 children on formula." Every visit became a lecture about feeding methods. Every conversation became a critique of the daughter-in-law's choices. The new mother felt attacked. She was already struggling with doubt and exhaustion. Sandra's constant criticism made everything worse. Finally, Robert's son had enough. "Mom, either support my wife's choices or stay home." Sandra was offended. "I'm just trying to help," she said. "No," her son replied. "You're trying to control. There's a difference. I know couples in their 40s who still run every decision past their parents. Where to live, what cars to buy, how to raise their children. These aren't marriages. These are extended adolescence with marriage certificates. Your children chose each other. Let them choose their solutions, too. Let them fight. Let them make up. Let them figure out who does dishes and who pays bills. Let them learn that marriage is 2 people building something together, not 2 people waiting for parents to build it for them. Most importantly, let them fail sometimes. Failure teaches lessons that your advice never could. When they struggle with their budget, don't offer to pay their bills. Let them figure out what expenses to cut. When they argue about housework, don't hire them a cleaning service. Let them negotiate their own division of labor. When they disagree about their children's bedtime, don't take sides. Let them find their own parenting rhythm. Your interference robs them of the chance to grow as a couple. Your solutions rob them of the satisfaction of solving problems together. The couples who survive are the ones who learn to handle problems without running home to mom and dad. Richard learned this too late. His son's marriage couldn't survive 30 years of his help. But you can learn it now. Here's my advice after 3 decades of marriage counseling. Stay close enough to help in real emergencies. Stay far enough away to let them live their own lives. Love them enough to let them struggle. Trust them enough to let them figure it out. Remember, you raised them to leave you. Let them leave successfully. Your children's marriage isn't your project. It's their adventure. The best gift you can give them is the space to succeed or fail on their own terms. When they call with problems, Listen with your heart. Respond with wisdom. Then hang up and let them handle it. When they make decisions you don't understand, bite your tongue. They're building their own family now. When they don't visit as often as you'd like, remember, they're busy creating the life you raised them to live. This isn't rejection. This is success. You did your job. You raised independent adults. Now let them prove it. Set boundaries with your money. Set boundaries with your opinions. Set boundaries with your time. Your children don't need your constant input. They need your occasional wisdom. They don't need your daily involvement. They need your unconditional support. They don't need you to solve their problems. They need you to believe they can solve their own problems. Let me give you a practical action plan. Starting tomorrow, implement these 3 rules. Rule number 1. The 24-hour rule. When your child calls with a problem, listen completely. Then say, "Let me think about this and call you back tomorrow." This gives them time to work on the problem themselves. This gives you time to think before reacting. Often they'll call back the next day to say they figured it out. Rule number 2. The $5,000 rule. Set an annual limit on financial help. Not $5,000 exactly. Whatever you can afford to lose without stress. Tell your children, "We have $5,000 available each year for true emergencies. Use it wisely because when it's gone until next year." This forces them to prioritize. This forces them to ask, "Is this really an emergency?" Rule number 3. The invitation rule. Never visit without being invited. Never give advice without being asked. Never solve problems that belong to them. When they need you, they'll ask. When they don't ask, they don't need you. Richard sits in my office every month now. Not for divorce counseling, for parent counseling. He's learning to step back. He's learning to stay quiet. He's learning to love from a distance. His son remarried last year. Beautiful ceremony, small and private. Richard wasn't invited to help plan it. He wasn't asked to pay for it. He wasn't consulted on the guest list. He was just invited to attend, as a guest, just like everyone else. And he told me it was the most beautiful wedding he ever attended, because he watched his son take full responsibility for his own happiness. That's what good parenting looks like in the end. Not children who need you forever. Children who can thrive without you. Let me share one final story. Dorothy, 74, from Sacramento. She watched her daughter struggle through the first year of marriage. Money problems, communication issues, in-law drama. Dorothy's hands were itching to help. She wanted to write checks. She wanted to give advice. She wanted to solve everything. Instead, she bit her tongue. She listened when asked. She stayed quiet when not asked. 1 year later, her daughter called her crying. Not from sadness, from joy. "Mom," she said, "we figured it out. We created a budget together. We learned to talk to each other. We set boundaries with both families. We did it ourselves." Dorothy had never felt prouder. 2 years later, when her daughter faced another crisis, she didn't call Mom for money or advice. She and her husband handled it together. That's the goal. Children who handle problems together instead of running home to Mom and Dad. Love them that much. Let them go that completely. Trust them that deeply. Your children's marriage will thank you. Your children will thank you. And you'll finally understand what it means to be a parent who raised adults, not grown-up children. The greatest compliment your children can give you isn't, "We couldn't do this without you." It's, "We learned from you how to do this ourselves." That's success. That's love. That's letting go done right. Here's your homework for this week. Pick one area where you've been interfering in your child's marriage. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's advice. Maybe it's babysitting with strings attached. This week, step back from that one area. Don't announce it. Don't make a speech. Just quietly step back. Watch what happens. I guarantee you'll be surprised by how capable your children really are. If this video helped you understand how to love your children without controlling them, please share it with other parents who might need to hear this message. Hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell for more real talk about family relationships that actually work. Leave a comment below. What's one area where you need to step back in your child's marriage? Let's help each other learn to love from a healthy distance. And remember, the best parents know when to step in and when to step back. Your children's happiness depends on knowing the difference.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring enough about your children to examine your own behavior. Your children are lucky to have parents who want to do better. Now go show them how much you love them by giving them the space to build their own beautiful life.